Good evening. This is Maestro Cortello with a Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite podcast. Today we have a 3v3 on Calderis Refinery, and our first player today is Phantom Land, playing as this Grey Knight Bro Captain, or now he's more like a Black Knight Bro Captain. He is a tanky melee hero, starts off with this big sizzling force sword. He can get some better force weapons later on. And he, I feel, is a little lacking in Tier 1, well, maybe aside from that Canticle of Absolution, which is proving itself to be a very, very powerful ability. His teammate, or his first teammate, is Final Push. You could probably make some kind of sexual joke out of that, but for now we'll just talk about this hero right here, the Apothecary. Starts off as a melee hero. Not that great of a fighter, but his ability to heal can be very, very useful. Next up, we got Redbeard right here, playing as a Plague Champion. The Plague Champion is a Chaos Marine dedicated to the Chaos God Nurgle. And he starts off as a ranged hero. He can get some melee weapons like a Plague Fist or a Plague Sword. And he can also heal and repair vehicles as well. On the other side of things, first up we have Noisy, playing as the Inquisitor, who is a disabling and debuffing hero. Right now she's just kind of doing nothing, just staying in cover, keeping her ass safe. Next we have Adila, playing as the Commissar Lord, chasing after some scouts, turning off his energy shield. The Commissar Lord is a slightly tanky melee hero. If we look at him, he is really, really cool looking. He does have a bionic eye. He can tank a little bit. He can also do some support by executing his own troops to make them fight harder. And finally, we have Max Power, playing as the Force Commander, already upgrading to the Iron Halo. Very quick Iron Halo upgrade. Force Commander is a tanky melee hero, quite a bit tankier than the Commissar Lord, although not quite as supportive, but he can be a very, very good hero. Alright, so we got Max Power right here, fighting against Final Push's Apothecary, with also Adila coming in with the Commissar Lord. Commissar Lord tying up the Strike Squad, and we also have some scouts out over here that are getting out of there. Lose 2 models, so some quick scout model losses. Max Power going for just a single tack build. He is, I believe, more of a 3v3 player than 1v1, so I don't think we'll see too many double scout builds out of him. They usually just get the one tactical marine and then go next into either like a Devastator or an Assault Space Marine squad. So it looks like Adila came through the middle to support on this side, and now he's actually fighting alone against Phantom Land's Bro Captain, as well as these Tactical Marines. Tactical Marines are trying to chase down the Guardsmen to force melee. And I think Adila's Guardsmen might have to go fairly soon. Generators drop from the red team. On the other side, it looks like both Noisy and Redbeard are dug in a little bit, using some of the kind of entrenchment abilities that you can get in Dawn of War 2. For Noisy, we do have this multi-laser turret, which, in a way, if you think about it, can almost act like a stationary sentinel, because it doesn't bleed, it does damage to other units that it can bleed, and it also, you can repair it while it's taking damage to kind of make it durable, and again, just inflict bleed while the turret itself doesn't take any bleed. And Noisy still keeping this turret up, but I think it might go down soon. Yeah, he actually scuttles it himself, destroys it himself to get some of the resources back, since he didn't have any repair units to stop these Chaos Space Marines. Now, we see a double Chaos Space Marine build out of Redbeard. I typically think of that as not such a strong Chaos build, but I think it can work out potentially nicely with the Plague Champion, in part because the combination of 2 Chaos Space Marines and the Plague Champion is a lot of range DPS, relatively speaking, coming out for a Chaos player, and Chaos is generally a race that has relatively low amounts of range DPS coming out. And he also can always just switch that Plague Champion over to the Plague Sword if he needs more melee counter initiation, because one Heretic squad isn't enough. Looks like we're back here. That Force Commander, again, we already see with the Iron Halo and Battle Cry is active. He's tanking a lot, knocking over the Apothecary, and it actually still looks like Max Power is getting doubled in here, because I still see Final Push's Apothecary. Yep, he is getting doubled, and he is calling out to his teammates that he is getting doubled. Meanwhile, it's definitely Redbeard and Noisy were still fighting up there, but Redbeard is actually kind of running away from Noisy. Might want to go over to support. I'm actually not sure what he would support. He actually might just be taking advantage of the fact that the middle is basically open because there are two other players on his team doubling max power. And I'm surprised how this Inquisitor is just running straight in there, but she has upgraded herself to have the Rosarius, and she has the Holy Brazier. This actually makes her kind of like a tanky melee hero because she has that Rosarius, which really does have a pretty good energy ratio. I believe it's actually just a 5-to-1. So that's a good energy shield. It makes the Inquisitor tanky. And then the Holy Brazier, or the Holy Brazier, is the most powerful melee weapon you can get out of her. Sometimes acquired for the ability. This Sentinel's going to go down. It's going to take bolt pistol shots from the Raptors, and it goes down. Noisy, unfortunately, pushing his luck right there. I'm actually really surprised to see him do that. And it's just an endless battle or an eternal war between Final Push's Space Marines. Looks like Final Push actually lost one of his scouts because his new scout squad is in that third squad slot. So he must have already lost a scout squad. And he has Tactical Marines and Assault Space Marines right here, actually getting supported by that Canticle of Absolution from Phantom Land. Oh man, what was that? Was that an improvised explosive? But as we see, the Bro Captain has already been upgraded to have the Mantle of Terra, giving him the Canticle of Absolution ability, which is proving itself to be an extremely powerful ability. Synergizes particularly well with Interceptor squads because it can restore their energy and allow them to use their teleport multiple times. Devastator suppressing these the Strike Squad, but looks like the Commissar Lord is a little isolated here, and he is a tanky dude, a really bossy fighter, but you do need to be a little careful about overextending your Commissar Lord. I think sometimes it is possible to get a little overzealous with him, more so than the other tanky melee heroes, because he is a bit more fragile, even though often the best thing to do with him is to have him, well, sometimes the best thing to do with him is to have him running straight up and just tying things up, fighting things in melee. Inquisitor getting fairly low on health, has about 10% of her health there, a little more than 10% actually. And this Bro Captain is being very, very aggressive, needs to be very careful. I was concerned he might have gone down in retreat there, but not quite enough time for those Catachandelos to force melee him down. And we have these Assault Marines right here from max power. I think they're going to lose a model if they keep this up, but actually it's the Apothecary goes down. Luckily, losing an Apothecary is not too big of a deal. At least it's usually not as big of a deal for Apothecary players compared to basically other heroes, and especially not in teams. Just a little bit more red, and Final Push will be able to use Laraman's Blessing to get his Apothecary back without having to spend the requisition. Right now the Inquisitor is beating up the Plague Champion with her Holy Brazier. The Plague Champion is hitting back with his Bolter, but he doesn't do nearly as much damage in melee. Right now the Inquisitor is actually a better melee hero than the Plague Champion in their current form. So the Inquisitor, it's something that people may not always remember to do with the Inquisitor. They don't necessarily always buy that Rosarius, because you can actually turn your Inquisitor into a melee hero with that, and she can actually function as a tanky melee hero, which is just like another tactical option you have. Normally you think of her as a disabling and debuffing hero. She can have that effect of a tanky melee hero if you want to get that. We actually have generators on this contested power farm going in favor of the red team. And we're already in Tier 2 for a lot of players. Manticore now out for Adila. Always a fantastic asset in teams. A little bit harder to make sense of it. Oh, we had a grenade go down there against those interceptors, but they jumped out of the way just in time. And these interceptors also have been upgraded to have their Justicar as well as crack grenades. And right now they are really doing their thing, combined with this Canticle of Absolution, but they actually need to be really careful because now they're taking too many losses. 2 Interceptor models die, and those things are not cheap to reinforce. So now we also have a weapon upgrade. We have a Power Fist on Max Power's Force Commander, which is generally a very safe weapon upgrade to get. Usually you're either going to decide between either that Power Fist or the Thunder Hammer. Power Fist is a lot more powerful, not quite as good for countering melee, but it can still be used to counter melee, and at the same time, having the Power Fist allows your commander to do your Force Commander to do some significant AV, while the Thunder Hammer does not. Devastator's facing the wrong way. But right now, blue team has a bit of an advantage. I think Redbeard is being a little too aggressive with this Chaos Dreadnought. It's getting surrounded by these Ogrins, and unfortunately, he does not really have anything to really stop these Ogrins. If anything, I think, well, you know what, this Chaos Dreadnought is still dead. I was going to say, Noisy may have gotten, or rather Redbeard was about to get lucky with Adila disrupting Noisy's Ogrins with his Manticore, but nevertheless, that Chaos Dreadnought went down, did not live very long. And over here, we actually have final push going all the way into Noisy's lane. Noisy suffering a few losses. Where did his Guardsman squads go? He only has 2 artillery spotters left and a squad of Ogrins, which is certainly not a common Imperial Guard build. Although if there's anyone you could see such a strange build from, it would be Noisy. Apothecary in a lot of trouble, I think needs to heal and then just get out of there. Wow! We saw the Commissar Lord there, now upgraded with the Xenos Power Claw. Took out like 20% of the Apothecary's health in one swing. These Catachan Devils are in quite a bit of trouble, need to retreat. They might just go down right here. And yeah, they go down, wow. So very unfortunate, but those Catachan Devils were a bit overextended. And now Adila taking a few losses, loses his Commissar as well. Meanwhile, the Inquisitor has been upgraded to have Excruciators, giving her a melee snare ability, or just a unit snare that's particularly useful against melee units. Actually changing out weapons to the Infernal Pistol, so I don't think we'll be seeing as much from the Inquisitor as a tanky melee hero, since we're switching builds here from her. She's going to now be a ranged hero with a snare ability. Two commanders down for the blue team, so I think it would be a very good idea for a final push to use Laraman's Blessing. And he has the red for it, so he should just go ahead and use it. Now, we have the Inquisitor in melee here again, and luckily she still keeps quite a bit of melee effectiveness, pretty much no matter what weapon you have for her, even if you have a ranged weapon, because she still has that 30 DPS melee sword, which is not great, but it's functional as a melee weapon. Of course, if you do want full melee effectiveness out of her, you get that Holy Brazier for the 50 DPS power melee. We do have Chaos Space Marines now upgrading to the Mark of Tzeentch. This squad just has Eternal War, no champion. And I'm hearing a Melt-A-Gun, and these Melt-A-Guns coming from the Stormtroopers from Adila. Adila has obviously taken quite a few losses. Looks like we're going to have some Bloodletters teleport in right next to these Stormtroopers. Really, really bad day for these Stormtroopers. Need to get out of there. Force melee from the Chaos Space Marines might just take out these Stormtroopers. Wow, yep. And so that was kind of sad for that Stormtrooper squad. Just got totally ganked by much of Redbeard's army. Redbeard now with no heretics. So since he has no heretics, he also has no vehicles. He actually doesn't really even need the heretics at the moment. Could certainly be helpful. And I mean, he's in a lane against Imperial Guard, so he actually doesn't necessarily need much of the melee counter initiation that is often a purpose of heretics. Plasma Cannon taking a shot from huge range, knocking that Apothecary off. Grenade's gonna go down. Oh my god! Wow. I mean, I was expecting that Stormtrooper squad to go down just from the melee we were gonna have from these Chaos Space Marines and the Bloodletters, but those guys didn't even get to do anything. So Red Team looks like they're screwed right now. They have a double cap, and they're keeping the double cap for the moment, but they are taking so many losses. That being said, Blue Team doesn't necessarily have that big of an army. They might be in a better position if they had a big army and just really bullied the Red Team, because the Red Team would not really have things to actually be able to fight back with. Final push as Apothecary goes down again, messing around too much with these tanky melee heroes with much more powerful melee weapons. I think that Apothecary might want to consider getting a Mastercrafted Bolter, because I think he's not doing a whole lot with his chainsword. He's been dead like 2 or 3 times. I think closer to 3 than 2. 2-1, Phantom Land is saying. I'm not sure what that's about. Maybe he's just referring to the caps. But Noisy is getting continually forced off. But there we have a combination of Excruciators and some Manticore strikes. What's a bunch of juicy shots going in right there. Two. I mean, that actually wasn't as bad as it looked, but it was still bad. 2 Raptor models down and a Chaos Space Marine model each. But there are 2 Manticores, one from Noisy, one from Adila. Both Imperial Guard players really struggling with
support structure
just with keeping their units alive. So let's take a look at... Oh, we have Terminators out already for max power. He actually opted to get ranged Terminators over Assault Terminators. He is, of course, the Force Commander, so he could get those Assault Terminators. And I think those would be very good right now. But, of course, ranged Terminators certainly an extremely good unit as well. So I'm sure we can still see a lot of good things out of them. I think my main concern is with max power, fighting against the Grey Knights. He can expect these Interceptors to lead the charge, to get into melee, and then the Assault Terminators would be a lot better for countering that than the ranged Terminators. We have Bloodletters teleporting in way too aggressively. There's just not even much they can do there against the Leman Russ. Leman Russ has been upgraded to the Vanquisher, which I'm a little bit surprised to see out of Adila, considering nobody on the blue team has a vehicle. And that Vanquisher really is more of an anti-vehicle upgrade. It does give the Leman Russ better range. I think the Manticore is going to go down right here. It needs any kind of support. A Melt-A-Bomb took it down to... Oh, we have a second... So there was a Melt-A-Bomb, and then I think probably a Crack Grenade on top of that. So 1 Manticore down. Leman Russ still up with the Vanquisher. Now I think the default Battle Cannon is better at actually hitting infantry, so it actually makes a better anti-infantry weapon than this Vanquisher cannon. Although the Vanquisher can still hit infantry, and it does have that very long range. It's still a very functional tank, but more of an anti-vehicle upgrade, I think, when you get the Vanquisher than when you have that default Battle Cannon. And the way I think of it, the Leman Russ starts out with a decent all-round cannon, not really high damage, and then you can specialize either between the Vanquisher for anti-vehicle or the Executioner for anti-infantry. And we see some Raptors in here going after the Manticore. Unfortunately, that's not really going to be something they're going to do very well without maybe getting those Melt-A-Guns. And Redbeard, unfortunately, he is not in Tier 3, so he can't get the Melt-A-Guns. And I think they would at least need their Aspiring Champion if they wanted to actually try to melee down a Manticore, which is possible because that Aspiring Champion does have power melee. But with just the regular melee damage of the regular Raptor models, I don't think he's really going to take down a Manticore with Raptors, at least not when he actually has other units trying to stop them. So somehow a double cap for the red team. They are managing to push back out, but now we have double Land Raiders for the red team. For the blue team, rather. And Redbeard with these double Zinj Space Marines used to be something I used to do all the time. Unfortunately, it really is much more of a teams build than a 1v1 build. And there are some practicality issues with double Zinj Space Marines in 1v1, since it's expensive and leaves you with a gap in your... Basically, doesn't leave you with much in terms of AV. And if we notice, Redbeard right now has literally no AV except for, I guess, his Plague Champion. Raptors jumping in. I feel like they're still jumping into a bit too much. Well, they jump into all those... my main concern right now are these Ogryns, and I think the Ogryns should actually keep fighting because they will take out the Plague Champion. And while Noisy actually does get them out of there, they do lose 1 model. Well, I guess having to fight both the Raptors and the Bloodletters, that is going to be a bit too much for them. Land Raider Crusader being very aggressive right here. And I'm actually a little bit concerned for this Land Raider Crusader. Actually, it's just fine. We have the Leman Russ here, which actually is still relatively unthreatened. Although now that Vanquisher cannon is actually going to be very important. Redbeard now, I think, overextending a bit. He still has 4 Raptor models, but he's down to 2 Bloodletters. He is going to reinforce off this Land Raider, though. So he is actually reinforcing. But those Raptors, now they lost 2 models. So a lot of bleed from Redbeard, and I think that's a bad thing. I was going to say something else, but then I decided not to. We actually have some Stern Guard veterans switching to Dragonfire rounds, which you hardly ever see. Those are anti-cover rounds, but again, you hardly ever see. It might have just been an accident. Probably going to see a Melt-A-Bomb on this Land Raider Crusader. Land Raider Crusader, fairly low on health, but at the same time, there's nothing to follow it up with, nothing to follow up that Melt-A-Bomb with, and these Assault Marines, even in a lot of trouble, lose 2 models. The Leman Russ would actually have to be a lot more aggressive, come forward, and probably actually could take out this Land Raider Crusader. But Adila probably wants to be careful. He's suffered a lot of losses and probably wants to keep whatever units he has alive right now. Might even be going for a second Leman Russ, which I think is not a bad idea. And now we have a Predator tank out from Max Power. The problem with the Predator tank, though, is that Max Power also lost his scouts, so right now he has no repair support for those scouts. He has no scouts as repair support for his Predator. Whoa, that was the Emperor's Wrath from Adila. You know, I think that's a very, very good choice from him. It's just a really powerful War Gear period, but I think it's especially nice for him considering he's been struggling with basically having enough units. So I think it's nice because he can get such a powerful ability. He basically gets a Manticore on his Commissar without having to buy a Manticore. Although Emperor's Wrath is still a rather expensive War Gear purchase, but not as expensive as an actual Manticore. These Kashkins are in quite a bit of trouble. They really need to get the hell out of there. I think, yeah, he wants to go to the safety of maybe this bunker. And wow, what did we... I don't even... Yeah, those were the Raptors from... Those were the Raptors from Redbeard. They just got obliterated. So Redbeard having trouble buying units, I think in part because he's fighting with an infantry-based army that he's bleeding very, very heavily with. We saw another Leman Russ, this one coming from Noisy. And I think a Plasma Cannon Devastator just went down. Now it's the red team losing, or the blue team losing a whole bunch of units. But this Predator is also in trouble with a bunch of units chasing after it as well. But now these are Vanguard veterans who are quite a bit more powerful than Assault Space Marines, but they do give up that Melt-A-Bomb. So we have these double Leman Russes. This one only with the elite. Let's see, Noisy's Leman Russ only with the elite tank crew, but not a specialized cannon. Here we go with that Predator, which still has no scout repair support. And this Leman Russ is actually in a very bad position. Does not want to find itself path blocked by Vanguard veterans when there's a las cannon Predator around as well. More Manticore strikes going in. And this Land Raider Redeemer is being used as a reinforcement point. Did the Stern Guard veterans just go down? I think they did. I think they went down. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. His final push is getting hit so hard. Now, unfortunately, I think that was actually really, really smart. Final push, not too happy. But part of what he's doing is that he's using his... land... Oh my god, and Chaos Space Marines just went down there. 2 Chaos Space Marine squads just went down right there. Final Push was using his Land Raider as a reinforcement point, and then the Imperial Guard players were targeting the Land Raider, which just went down with their Manticores. Now, that serves a double purpose. First of all, one of the ways you avoid a Manticore is by retreating away from it. One of the ways you deal with a Land Raider is by using a Manticore. So, oh my god, now this Land Raider is done. The blue team in such a terrible situation right now. They were really looking like they were in such a strong position, but now they really look like they're screwed. 2 Land Raiders just went down. But basically, if you try to retreat away from a Manticore when your units are right next to the Land Raider and you have them retreat to the Land Raider, you're basically just retreating to right where the Manticore is, and you're helping to take out the Land Raider is also getting blown to pieces as well. So that's really, really good. There we see an Imperial Abyss taking out 3 Ogryn models and does not even kill it.
We have 200 points remaining.
So yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of what Redbeard was saving up for. He had a whole lot of red. And not happy about it, not pulling in retreating units. And, I mean, yeah, he only killed 3 Ogryn models right there, did not kill a single squad. And I mean, I don't think he used it on much, but the Imperial Abyss is not that great of a global right now. You have to be very, very careful about how you use it. Because most of the time you will use the Imperial Abyss and it will kill a few models and no squads, and usually it doesn't do a whole lot. Unless you know the right way to use it. Which is putting it at a point where someone will retreat to, such as a base, or a relay beacon, or a Land Raider. And we have the Predator tank approaching, but max power still with... I don't even know what he's using to repair this. He's about to be driving into a las cannon. This Predator tank is down, but Manticore Strike's going in, absolutely whittling down the health of that Land Raider Crusader. It's already now only at about a third of a health again. This is our third Land Raider. Manticore Strike's about to go down again. These double Manticores absolutely destroying the blue team. They can't seem to get a hold back on this middle VP with all this long-range firepower. I like how max power... No. Adila has the Vanquisher Lehman Russ. So Noisy chose to get the Executioner. So they're both getting... They're getting the heavy anti-infantry of the Executioner and the heavy anti-tank out of the Vanquisher. And that Vanquisher has really, really long range. And now Max Power has both Terminator variants. He's got the regular range Terminators with the Cyclone missile launcher of all things. And he's got these range Terminators now with Lightning Claws about to cut up some Terminators from Final Push, who is absolutely screwed. And I think that was a combination of Excruciators from Noisy, as well as basically just combined with these Terminators. And those Terminators from Final Push really couldn't do anything. And certainly not everything. Something just died there, I'm not sure what. So the red team now in an incredibly commanding position, and I think they actually did a really good job of punishing those Land Raiders. Basically, that was the big thing that the blue team had, those Land Raiders. They had 2 Land Raiders at a time when, I think, they had those 2 Land Raiders at a time when Adila only had his 1 Lehman Russ. But they really punished it with those Manticores. So, something to keep in mind. Land Raiders, be cautious with your Land Raiders against an Imperial Guard player with Manticores. In particular, be really cautious about retreating your units to a Land Raider when your opponent has a Manticore. Grenade on those Bloodlayers, they're going to be taken out. Oh man, I don't know what was going on with Redbeard right there. You can retreat out of Excruciators. The Terminators couldn't, so that's why they were screwed, but Bloodlayers could retreat through that. We now have the Bro Captain right here with some upgrades. He's got the Nemesis Force Halberd trying to revive Redbeard. He's going to die doing it. So we just need Final Push to... Well, Final Push needs to use Laren's Blessing to revive his teammates. But the question right now is just, can the blue team come back from this? I mean, about 10 minutes ago, it looked like the red team had this kind of army, had this size army, the size of an army that the blue team had. Now, Redbeard is being persistent, trying to get a decap off with these Plague Marines, and I think he will get the decap off, but if he tries to stay in there any longer, he may end up losing his Plague Marines. As it is, he already lost 3 models, and that's expensive to reinforce on a squad that doesn't even do a whole lot with those models. But it is a 1-to-1, but it's a 1-to-1 with the red team quickly getting back their natural in a spot that's not actually hard for them to get it back. So blue team, the blue team really only just buying time at the moment. They may have one chance they could also have is using, if Phantom Land gets enough red to do an orbital bombardment, he could blow up this bunker and just scare enough units back and away to retreat to at least get the cap off on the middle. Wow, Terminators just wiped by the Manticore. I don't know if the teleporter was on cooldown or if Redbeard was just not paying attention, but I mean, Terminators are actually a unit that can get out away from a Manticore strike pretty easily by teleporting, but they can also be punished very hard if you don't teleport them. And wow, Bro Captain goes down. Red team being absolutely dominating in like these past 5 minutes or so. And And I'd say I see it going in their favor. Double Predators out for final push, so he's getting a new scout squad. Final push needs to use Laramann's Blessing, but I don't know if there's a whole lot of time left. It might be too late. And we have some Paladins that are just trying to get the cap off, but they are going to take losses doing that. I think they even... Did they teleport in? If they teleported in, they're literally going to die from that. And he's just going for the cap. He's going to lose that squad of Paladins that did nothing but decap. We might have this Executioner go down. Both Leman Russes are highly leveled. We have a level 3 Executioner, level 4 Vanquisher. But it looks like this Leman Russ isn't even going to go down. And it is getting repairs. This is a repair bunker, not a meta bunker. And now we have a Baneblade. Oh my god, yeah, that's got to be it. I really don't see the blue team coming back from this one. It's a single cap in their favor. About to be Interceptors getting murdered on retreat. It's about to be a 1-to-1 cap game with no one on this middle VP. Because there are a bunch of tanks staring it down. So I guess the challenge is just right now this middle VP is no man's land. Commissar looks like he's going to make attempt using his energy shield. And I mean, he has at level 10, a level 10 Commissar Lord does have, he is getting an extra 500 hit points out of having an energy shield. Now he really is a tanky melee hero. Manticore Strike's going in, some more. Actually, a single cap in the blue team's favor with Redbeard using Pestilence Strike on his Plague Champion for the range damage resistance to get this cap, to try to go for that cap. He didn't get the cap off. He got the decap, I think. Baneblade going forward quite a bit. Might just take out this Land Raider Crusader. Double Predators need to be really, really careful because they, to be honest, kind of get countered by a Baneblade. Triple Predators even. And now it's the red team. It's a 1-to-1 cap. Red team has the middle VP. Blue team still fighting hard for this one. And Redbeard uses another Imperial Abyss to keep this VP and to keep the Inquisitor off it. Actually manages to take out that Inquisitor with that Imperial Abyss. We have another Land Raider going down, a Predator going down, and the Baneblade might even be trouble. But actually, one Predator, another Predator, that one's going to go down, I think. No, just barely gets out of there. And we're going to see this Baneblade go down. Going to take a multi-melta shot? Yes, and it goes down. Oh my god. All right, 1-to-1 cap. I think that it looks like it might be going for the red team now because Noisy is getting this last VP, and there are only 24 more victory points for them that need to tick down. This Dreadnought is about to die. Oh, man. And that looks like it's probably going to be game. Plague Champion, again, uses Pestilence Strike. You can still use that ability without stopping the cap. And the Plague Champion gets the decap off, still going for the cap, but I don't think he's going to get it right there. Uses the heal on himself. This is very interesting use of the Plague Champion. I mean, I'm sure people who play the Plague Champion know about this stuff, but, I mean, it's just good to see. Just nice to see it. Just basically just Plague Champion knowledge actually being applied. Other uses for the Plague Champion aside from just the fighting. And we actually have some infiltrated scouts going for the decap on the middle. They don't get it. But there is this decap over here. And the blue team, I think that's going to be it for the blue team. They have held on incredibly, but I think that's going to be it for them. Especially now. I mean, look at the army that the blue team has, and look at the army that the red team has. VPs are ticking down. Quite a game.
Acceptance of defeat is an invitation for its repetition.
All right, thank you, Max Power, for submitting this replay. Hope you guys enjoyed the cast, and I'm gonna be having a little replay cast marathon to kind of compensate for the fact that I haven't been casting much lately. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.